Okay, this will be a challenging one. As you've probably seen, you've seen these ones before if you've been watching my videos. This will be a really difficult one, but I've done heaps of them. Let's see if we can make this one turn up a treat. Going to leave it on 100 as we normally do. Okay, let's see what we have to present. We have here, it is Monster. It's Monster energy drink. So we'll just show you the can. So we just turn it round. It's that there. So this is an ugly skulls and candy skulls and shit like that. Interesting. Nice patterns though. Aesthetically pleasing, even though I don't like skulls and shit. I'm not into skulls and death culture, as these cans seem to be about. Just going to try and set it there. But we're going to make it into something interesting anyway. It is aesthetically pleasing, even though I don't agree with this death shit. Because death is not a very nice thing, folks. Once upon a time, I was afraid of death, and I didn't like being reminded about it. But even though I've overcome my fear of death, I still don't like stuff that reminds me of it. I still despise it, you could say. I think this is what we wanted. We've got it here. We just got it there. We're going to do something with this. I think it's that one. Yeah, it's that one. But basically, I'm not a person who likes to promote the apparent worship of death like this stuff seems to portray. But I'm still going to use this as a graphic for my artwork. I wonder if we're going to take out some background. But basically, it's interesting how people somehow manage to worship this sort of stuff, or they seem to glorify it a lot. I don't understand how, but they do. Somehow they do glorify death. Or I'm just wondering if I should fucking fold it. If I should fold it and then work out. Sorry folks, I'm just folding this piece of paper along the line to make it a bit more easier to line up. So I've just bent it across there. But basically, yeah, it's death is not something. A lot of people struggle with death. They either worship it or they absolutely hate it, or frightened of it. And I know what it's like. This the fear of the unknown. You know what happens when you die? Do you go to a happy place, or is there a sad place of tormented souls? There's a lot of questions that could be considered unanswered. I can't give you the answer in this video, but you have to find out for yourself what happens when you die. Now that looks really interesting. So you wonder. So it's a wonder what happens when you actually die. But of course, it's not, as I said, it's not something I can give you the answer to, this video. But it's something you have to find out for yourself. and how to deal with it. How to deal with it, folks. It's not an easy thing to deal with, and I certainly found it difficult to deal with myself, having to deal with the fear of dying, and it's not something that's terribly pleasant or fun to talk about. I do have hope for myself, as I can't give you this solution because it may not be what you want, but basically I feel like I've found my own destiny and I'm going to a happier place. I'm going to a happier place, folks, and that's what I have come to the conclusion. But once upon a time, I thought I was going to a horrible place. So death really scared the fucking shit out of me. Now that looks interesting, but it's not what we want. But basically, I was afraid, folks, and now I've managed to deal with this, what was a problem, what I considered to be a major problem for me, dealing with the death problem. So I'm going to make this a bit smaller than 200 on the vertical should I say. But basically, yeah, I had to face it myself. I faced it pretty well on my own. I had to face it alone, this fear. But I faced it and I'm now all right. I do think I'm going to be in a happy place, as I said. But it took decades for me to find my peace. It took decades for me to find peace in myself, that everything was going to be just fine. It took decades, literally decades. Unfortunately, we got that bit there. So it took decades for me to find out how to deal with this problem. It was a very long-running problem, which I had to find a solution to, otherwise I'd go nuts. And it took me a long time to find my peace and my tranquility, and it just took a long time, but it was worth it. So it's worth searching, folks. Keep searching for the meaning of life if you can, because otherwise you'll never find your full potential either, because your potential is reliant on finding yourself, and in finding yourself you can kill off the fear of death. The fear of death no longer applies if you can just find yourself and find your true self. Just to be yourself is basically a push in the right direction. If you can just be yourself. Just be yourself, folks. That's it. You can't be anyone else. You got to be yourself. So that's one of the hints I give to you finding your way, and finding your way out of this hellhole of uncertainty, is to basically find yourself. You got to find yourself, otherwise you'll always be afraid. I'm wondering where the centre of this job is going to be. So yeah, you just have to fucking find yourselves. Now this is, unfortunately, that's the edge. So basically, you've got to find yourselves, you find your way. You can't just be someone else. You can't be someone who exists or doesn't exist. You got to be yourself, folks. You just got to be yourself. And then after you find yourself, things should fall into place. Let's see how we go with that. That looks better. So, going to make, I think that's going to be the centre. But basically, yeah, you have to fucking just find your way. Find your way through. Just be yourself. What can I say, folks? And even if you've got past demons in your life, you can still overcome them, folks. Your past doesn't have to be your future. So just remember that. I've got a past, folks. Through my fear of death, I made some fuck-up decisions, including not being myself. And I lost track of a loved one as a consequence. And now I know who he is and what I've got to do. I've got to get this stuff here on television to find him. So soon after I shrugged off the fear of death, I found Luigi again, my future husband, who I met when I was very young and foolish, young and confused. But now I know who and what I am and what my life entails, or roughly. I can't predict the future, only bits of it. But basically, I have to just be myself, and I have to keep following in the direction that I'm going, that I believe is the right direction. And yeah, so not only have I shrugged off the fear of death, I've also found I'm going to find a loved one again eventually. I know I will. I've got to think positive, folks. Anyway, that looks really strange. I think now we can call this demo quits.